Close your eyes. I want you to picture a room in Venice, California. It's 5:00 a.m. But strictly speaking, you wouldn't know it because the sun is explicitly forbidden here.
Right.
There are these industrial-grade blackout curtains sealing the windows, and they turn the room into this total pressurized void. Inside, a man lies motionless. He isn't sleeping, not in the way you or I understand it.
No, he's powering down. Or maybe it's more like he's in standby mode, being monitored by a symphony of sensors.
Exactly. Every heartbeat, every breath, every spike in body temperature, every REM cycle, it's all just another data point being fed into a cold digital ledger.
This doesn't sound like a bedroom.
It's a laboratory. And the man in the bed decided a long time ago that death wasn't an inevitability. It was just a, quote, technical error that needed debugging.
It sounds less like a wellness routine and more like a crime scene where the victim is still breathing.
That is exactly the vibe we are tracking today. We're talking about Bryan Johnson. But look closer at the bedside table in this imaginary room. There's no book, no glass of water.
Just the equipment.
There's a tray. And on that tray is a chemical ritual.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about dozens upon dozens of pills.
100, some days.
100. And when you see the sheer volume of it, you realize this isn't health. This is a declaration of war against the human condition.
And that is precisely why we've opened this file today. Because usually when we talk about tech billionaires and longevity, it's all bright lights and green juice.
Right, it's usually soft focus and acoustic guitars.
But today, I think we need to take a different approach. Think of me as the coroner for this deep dive. We are analyzing Project Blueprint, but not as a lifestyle brand.
Okay.
We need to look at it as a psychological thriller about optimizing the human animal until it snaps.
So let's officially open Dossier, #34. The mission today isn't to find a body. We are looking for something much harder to pin down.
The motive?
We are looking for the soul that was traded for an extra century. Welcome to the biohacking noir.
I like that framing. But, you know, to be fair to the source material, we have to acknowledge that Bryan Johnson doesn't see it as noir.
Oh no, of course not.
He sees it as the dawn of a new species. He calls himself a biological anomaly.
Which is a very nice way of saying guinea pig. So let's walk through the evidence. We have a massive stack of documents here: marketing materials, product lists, FDA reports, and testimonials. But the centerpiece,
The smoking gun.
the thing that really turned this from a quirky health story into something darker, is what I'm calling the crime scene.
You're referring to the blood exchange.
The blood exchange. Let's take the listener to May 2023, a private wellness clinic in Texas. And this is not a family barbecue. We have 3 generations of the Johnson line present.
Right. Richard, the father, he's 70. Bryan is 45. And then there's Talmadge, the son, who is just 17.
17.
And this is where the forensic analysis gets, well, disturbing. Because biologically, this is what's known as plasma exchange. But narratively, it's something else entirely.
Just visualize this for a second. We have plastic tubing connecting these men. We have deep crimson liquid pulsing from a teenager's arm. Talmadge, the 17-year-old, loses the liter of plasma.
Which, for the record, is a significant amount. That's roughly a fifth of his total blood volume. It's not a casual donation. That is a physiological event.
Right. And Bryan, the father, gains it.
It's a vampiric pact. I mean, there really is no other way to describe it linguistically. In the eyes of the law, sure, this is a voluntary medical procedure.
Everyone signed the waivers.
Of course. But in the eyes of behavioral forensics, this is the systemic extraction of youth.
It feels mythical, doesn't it? Like something out of a grim fairy tale. The king feeding on the prince to stay on the throne. But let's pause and get technical for a second. Is there any science behind this?
That's the key question. The concept is based on something called parabiosis.
Parabiosis. Okay, define that for us.
So historically, scientists have stitched the circulatory systems of 2 mice together, one old, one young.
It sounds like Frankenstein science.
It kind of is. And they found that the old mouse actually did show signs of rejuvenation, better muscle repair, improved cognitive function. The theory is that young blood has signaling proteins that tell cells to repair themselves.
And old blood does the opposite.
Exactly. It's full of inflammatory markers that tell cells to degrade.
Okay, so in mice, stitching them together works. But Bryan Johnson didn't stitch himself to his son. He just took the plasma.
Correct. And that is a massive scientific leap. There is very, very little evidence that a one-time transfer of plasma in humans replicates the effects of being surgically conjoined for weeks.
And didn't the FDA have something to say about this?
They did. The sources indicate that the FDA actually issued a formal warning against this specific type of procedure.
Yes, I have that right here. They flagged it as unproven and potentially dangerous. They warned that it serves no clinical benefit for normal aging.
And that is a crucial piece of evidence regarding the psychological profile we're building. Why proceed? Why ignore the FDA?
Because you know better.
Because a narcissist, or perhaps a visionary, depending on your view, doesn't follow the system. He believes he is above the system. He optimizes it until it breaks.
That warning is for standard humans.
Right. Bryan Johnson views himself as something else entirely. He's debugging the court of life, and he doesn't care if regulatory agencies think it's a syntax error.
And the twist in the story,
Yeah.
he stopped, didn't he?
Yes. After analyzing the data, because remember, he measures everything, he found no significant benefit, so he cut the program.
Wow.
Which tells us something fascinating. He is ruthless. If the data says, drink your son's blood, he does it. If the data says, it's not working, he stops.
There's no sentimentality, only the algorithm.
Exactly. That might be scarier than the vampire thing. It's pure calculation. It strips the emotional bond of father and son down to a failed experiment.
Talmadge wasn't a son in that clinic.
He was an organic asset, and when the asset failed to yield a return on investment, it was deprecated. Richard, the grandfather, was a legacy upgrade. And Bryan, he's still the architect.
Chilling. Okay, let's move from the blood, which is the most visceral part of this, to the daily grind, the weaponry.
The chemical maintenance of the asset.
Exactly. I'm looking at the product pages for Blueprint, and it's fascinating how it's marketed. They have this thing called the Easy Stack.
Sounds like a fast food order.
It does, but it's actually a 30-second longevity protocol.
Which implies that immortality is just a convenience store away. Just add water and live forever.
Right. It's 2 capsules and a drink. But look at what's in this ammunition. We've got creatine, glutathione, ubiquinol, fisetin, lithium orotate. I mean, for the listener who hasn't spent 5 years in a biohacking forum, what are we looking at here?
These are not your standard multivitamins. Let's just break down a few. Take glutathione.
Okay.
It's often called the master antioxidant. Your body produces it, but as you age, production drops. It fights oxidative stress. Basically, the rust that builds up in your cells.
So he's trying to rust-proof his body.
Exactly. Then you have ubiquinol. This is the active form of CoQ10. It's essential for mitochondrial function. Mitochondria are the power plants of your cells.
And he's obsessed with that.
Totally. If the power plant fails, the city goes dark. He's just trying to keep the lights on.
And lithium orotate. That sounds...
Heavy. It's a microdose of lithium. In high doses, it treats bipolar disorder, but in these tiny doses, the theory is that it promotes neurogenesis, the growth of new brain cells, and stabilizes mood.
So rust-proofing, power plant maintenance, and brain stabilization.
Pretty much. But look at the marketing language in the dossier. It doesn't just list ingredients. It says, every ingredient fought for its life.
That phrase stuck out to me too, fought for its life. It frames nutrition as combat.
Yeah.
It's not nourishing the body, it's winning a battle.
It reinforces that declaration of war theme you started with.
Yeah, and they make a big deal about no-label fluff. The dossier mentions they test for heavy metals, they avoid pixie dusting, which is a great industry term, by the way.
Pixie dusting.
It's when a company puts just enough of an expensive ingredient in a pill to list it on the label, but the dose is so small it's biologically useless.
It's a scam.
Right, and Johnson is claiming his stack is clinically relevant dosing. It's the commercialization of immortality. He's doing these extreme things, but he's also selling olive oil and longevity mix to the masses. He's packaging his obsession.
And people are buying it. I'm looking at the testimonials in the file. We have Marshall H. claiming he lost 50 pounds. We have Anita S. calling it a portal to a better life.
Portal to a better life. That sounds like a religious claim, not a nutritional one.
It really is. And that's the danger. The website is bright. The bottles are minimalist. It promises energy and focus. But that slick exterior hides the dark, obsessive reality of what it actually takes to be Bryan Johnson.
You can buy the pills, but can you buy the discipline?
That's the contrast. The listener sees the Instagram ads, the bright Don't Die app, but behind that is the blood boy in the clinic. Behind that is the 100 pills on the nightstand.
It's a shiny veneer over a deep existential panic.
So let's dig into that panic. Let's profile the man himself. We have to reconcile the persona, this guy saving humanity, with the pathology.
The stats are wild. One distinct data point, 1,977 calories.
Consumed every single day. Not 1,978, not 1,976.
Precisely 1,977 every day. And he eats them all before 11:00 a.m.
Just think about what that requires. It implies the total elimination of spontaneity.
Forget pizza with friends.
You can't have birthday cake. You can't let someone else cook for you unless they're following the algorithm to the gram.
He calls it the algorithm. He says he has fired Evening Bryan.
Evening Bryan.
Yeah, you know that version of you that wants to eat a bag of chips and watch Netflix at 10 p.m.?
I know him well.
That's Evening Bryan. Johnson realized that version of himself was self-destructive, so he revoked his own authority to make decisions. He has outsourced his free will to the blueprint algorithm.
In behavioral analysis, we would look at this very closely. He frames it as liberation freedom from the tyranny of bad choices, but it's also a prison of perfection.
And the sources say he sleeps alone. Strict protocol for intimacy. Everything is optimized.
So let's play devil's advocate. Is this just extreme avoidance behavior?
Avoidance of what? Death.
On the surface, yes, but look deeper. By eliminating human error, which is what he calls aging and dietary slip-ups, he has also eliminated the human experience.
What is he running from?
He's running from the messiness of being alive, the flaws, the unpredictable nature of a Tuesday afternoon.
That's a haunting thought. That he's optimizing his life so much that he's actually removing the life part of it. It's like that ship paradox. If you replace every plank of wood on a ship, is it still the same ship?
Exactly. If you replace every biological impulse with an algorithmic decision, are you still a man? He isn't hacking biology, he's dehumanizing it.
If you treat your body like a machine.
For decades, inputs, outputs, maintenance, upgrades, eventually you lose the ability to feel like a man. You become a vessel, a container for optimized organs.
And that brings us back to the sun, the organic asset.
Right. If you view yourself as a machine that must go on forever, then other people, even your own children, risk becoming just spare parts.
That is the post-human predator concept.
Yes. And I don't use the word predator lightly. Is he a savior showing us a new way to live? Or is he a predator who views the younger generation merely as a reservoir of biological material to keep his own system running?
It turns the generational contract completely upside down.
Completely. Usually the parent sacrifices for the child. The father gives his energy to the son. Here, the flow is reversed. The child is harvested for the parent.
It's terrifying when you frame it that way. It's not just about health, it's about power and fear and isolation. Don't forget the isolation. You can ship the easy stack to your door, but you can't ship the connection that comes from breaking bread with someone, flaws and all.
You know, there's a psychological term, orthorexia, for the obsession with healthy eating, but this goes beyond food. It's orthoexistence, correct living.
But correct according to whom?
Yeah.
The computer. So what does this all mean for us? For the listener? I mean, the legal case against aging is still in session.
We have to give him credit where it's due. His labs are clean, his blood work is perfect, his rate of aging is supposedly slower than 99% of 20-year-olds. By all medical metrics, he is winning.
He's reversing the clock.
Biologically, yes, but we have to ask at what cost. And I don't mean the $2 million a year he spends, I mean the cost to the self.
That's the twist in this noir story. The true horror isn't a murder. There's no body in the library.
Oh, the horror is the slow erasure of the self.
Imagine achieving it. Imagine he wins. He gets his extra century. He lives to be 200. But to get there, he had to become something that doesn't eat with joy, doesn't sleep with a partner, doesn't accept the natural flow of generations.
He becomes a statue that breathes.
A statue that consumes 100 pills a morning and thinks it's winning because its heart rate variability is optimal.
It leaves us with a heavy question. The sources show us a man who has conquered the data. But I keep going back to that image of the 17-year-old with a needle in his arm.
That is the image that should haunt you. Because it asks a simple question. When the last human flaw is polished away, when the skin is tight and the biomarkers are ideal, but the eyes are empty, who is left?
Right. If you live forever, but you've traded away your son's blood and your own autonomy to get there, have you conquered death?
Or have you simply built a much, much more expensive cage?
A cage made of gold and algorithms, but a cage nonetheless. And frankly, I'd rather have the pizza and the wrinkles.
Dossier #34 is closed, but I want you to stay observant. The next time you see a smiling face in a high-tech ad promising you eternity, or a bottle of pills that claims to fight for its life, don't just look at the shiny label.
Look at the back row.
Look for the blood boy in the shadows.
Because immortality always has a price.
And usually, someone else is paying it. Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you in the next one.
But the darkness remains. Your next dossier is ready, and it's even more disturbing than this one. Click here to open it.